Hi, this is Scylla Conway, and I'd like to give you a run through of my latest deck. I'm the author of the Days of Creation, the Shimmering Veil Tarot, and various other decks, and the Book of the Dead is my latest offering, which hopefully will reach the UK very shortly, although I haven't actually been able to work out or find out when. However, the Book of the Dead has a very distinctive storyline. Unlike most decks, and this is an oracle deck, this one begins with death. And will move through various stages that I imagine we will all encounter when we die. The first one, as you can imagine, is death. Here's this card. Here's a dead person. And behind them is opening a sort of a strange blackness. Through that come spirits who want to welcome the person in. And the person's spirit then emerges from the body and, in a metaphor, goes up. Some people won't, and that's part of the story. A lot of people in the near-death experiences community, and there is a website for this, feel as though there's a sort of a tunnel with light at the end of it, and they move through this tunnel and are greeted by what I've called a shining being, or at least I call it the greeting, but it is a shining being. I have not called it an angel, not sure what is actually going to meet us. And almost the first thing that we experience is what I've called a life review. Most people go through this, having a look, and I don't quite know how it works. It isn't a video. It's a sort of reliving. It probably goes quite fast, and we look at all the things that we wish we'd done in life and see what we could have done differently. So it's quite an education, I would think. And after that, we've got innocence regained. And it's probably quite a difficult space even. We've got some lightning and a feeling of amorphousness, but it certainly is something that we would go through to rest and recuperate. After that, we encounter loved ones and our loved animals. We've got a dog there, a horse, which I don't know if you can see, a bird, and a cat who comes in to supervise the thing. You know, nothing would ever happen without cats. After that, the people who are happy with what they've done in their life review can start moving through, and they can go into a garden. This is the first garden. It's a beautiful misty thing with a bubbling brook, and they can then go off and see what they need to learn, because I'm sure there's a huge amount that we don't know. And if we want to find out, we can go and visit the Shining Tutors. Again, I mean, this one does look like an angel, but I'm not saying they are angels, they're just shining tutors. We can find out about all the archetypes and the structure behind and below everything. This is the element of form, or the realm of form. Plato talked about this being the sort of underlying everything we see. So a mountain would have the idea of a mountain. Maybe not necessarily an ideal mountain, but the idea of a mountain. And we can learn about those. After that, quite a few people will then become unified. Spirit and soul would unify into this golden being there. And quite a few people will be able to go off and watch the creation of universes, because I don't believe there's just one. And that is what I've called the first path. Those would be the people who have come through their life review knowing that they might have done something, or quite a few things different, but they're happy enough with themselves. The second path are people who have gone up into their spirit selves, but they don't know who they are. They're kind of lost without their bodies, and they're confused. This is the second path. So we follow them for a while. We see them next on the verge of this new life, half in shadow, half light. There's a bird up there, and they gradually become aware that they could do anything. They could go and fly with the birds, they could go and investigate anything in this realm. And what this particular spirit does is they decide they want to fly. So they go and fly with the birds, and they then go and investigate how the bees locate themselves. I'm assuming that there will be bees and flowers and birds and whales and all sorts of things that can be looked at and investigated and even swum with. This spirit is now beginning to be quite happy with where he or she is, and moves on and finds themselves in this wonderful valley with a golden lake and the sun coming through. And other spirits up in the skies have decided to fly as well. And this spirit calls out to them, they greet each other, and maybe get into a kind of soul family kind of feeling. They can carry on with this person and go and explore all the way, or they can move on. It depends. There's no pressure to do anything. What there is a sense of utter freedom. I don't think that many of us will have felt that free on earth, but this is a sort of spirit freedom. And finally, on this path, they can go and look at the ocean. I've called it the Shimmering Sea. I believe it's a sort of sea that goes through all the realms of the afterlife. My father loved sailing, so I gave him a sea. And he can go sail with the winds in the afterlife. So that's the second path. The third path is somewhat different. It's quite dark. Here, these spirits, they haven't really gone through into the afterlife. They're sort of hanging there, halfway, and they don't know who they are, they don't know what they are, they're just lost. You probably can see the dark figure in the middle. They are also extremely fearful. I think fear is a real killer on earth. We're taught to be frightened. We're taught to be fearful of everything. And if you watch the TV adverts, every single one of them will be attacking some fear. You know, teeth aren't white, or old, or fat, or something. So this spirit here in the third path is sort of like cut off. He or she can see through into another realm, and you can see them here putting an arm up, wondering who or what they can reach through to. But they don't really know what to do, how to get through. And so they just hang there in limbo, not knowing where to go, who to go, what they are. I believe that these are the spirits who hang around seances, so that when someone bereaved wants to contact Aunt Sally, let's say, these are the spirits who would go through to the medium. This is only my idea, of course, though. So now, after a while, we encounter the psychopomp. Psychopomp is a being who can move through all the levels of reality. Hermes is usually called the archetypal psychopomp. I've called her Oya because she came out as a female. Let's see if I can get everything in view. Okay, and finally, the lost souls in limbo can move through. If they accept what the psychopomp says, they can move through. Very, very sort of etiolated, very thin sort of spirits at the time, but you can more or less see them as they go through into the afterlife, finally. They can then start investigating the gardens, and maybe the first one they come to is green walks. So if they went into that little temple, there'd be food and there'd be musical instruments, and they could play with people that they meet there, spirits that they meet there. And if they've got any sense, they'll feel gratitude for being in this strange but very beautiful place. However, this is the fourth path. The souls, or spirits, sorry, I don't believe that a spirit and a soul is exactly the same. As you see, I've joined the more aware people together so that they're spirit and soul in one. These people will not be that way. They'll be angry, they'll be confused, but they won't even admit that. They're the sort of people who have killed for a living, given drugs or made people addicted to drugs, and they'll never have thought that they are doing anything wrong at all. It's not me. No, it was somebody else's fault. So they get shuffled off to Chiron, who takes them across the River Lethe into the Isle of the Dead. And there they land up on the Valley of the Shadow. You can see the little person there, thinking, well, I just got to keep on going. It can't be this bad all the time. But then it gets worse. They start sinking into some pretty horrible stuff, especially, depending on what they've done. If they've killed people, then they're liable to be walking through blood and guts. We don't want to be there, really. And if they carry on, if they just keep on saying, it's got nothing to do with me, it's not my fault, they'll end up in the river of, what have I called it? Oil and blood. And it's hot. Some of them will have enough sense to start wondering maybe if they could have done something different. And those ones will be fortunate enough to then encounter a friend, a loved one who says, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to be this person? Or do you want to have something better? This is really not the sort of place that you want to be in. And if they've got any sense at all, they'll start taking on board what this friend says and start recovery. The ones who really get it and understand what they've done and start being a completely different person can come through and break through. Some of them will become one of the first path people. They'll be so amazingly aware at the end of it that they will be part of the first path and join in with the whole lot of spirits later. So now we join up with everybody again. They've gone through all their different paths, and there are probably lots of different paths. There may even be lots of different beings, not necessarily human. But here they are joined by one of the shining beings who says, okay, you've got this far, but actually you've got now a huge choice to make. Some of you will be aware that you didn't really do what you wanted to do in life. You got shuffled off into a life that you didn't want didn't think was anything to do with you. And now you may feel it's important to go back and try and rework your life. You can, you don't have to, but the ones who want to, the ones who know that they have to, will have to face this last farewell. I'm not sure that it's a final farewell, because in the afterlife, surely later on, once you've lived your second life or 15th life again, you'll be back. But at the moment, it's a farewell. And they go into this sort of pre-state. There's a little soul, light coming down, and it's preparing them for the next life. Here they are on the way down. The Tibetans say that after you die, you hang about in Bardo for 40 days, and then you go back. I don't believe that that's the case, but maybe it's what you actually believe will happen. For the remainder of the people, though, we've got the heart space. I don't know how many of us have actually really got into that space here. We're so caught up with life, but this is a sense of absolute connection with everything. And there are lots of different spaces in there. They also may, some of them, join in with other souls and become a kind of group soul. So these are people or spirits who've wandered right through the realms and found where they want to be, and now they find who they want to be with. Some of them will go across the Rainbow Bridge. I know when I tried to contact my grandmother, who died, years ago, she seemed to have been across the Rainbow Bridge, so she really didn't need any contact with me at all, but I think she enjoyed the fact that I was connected to her. Once over the Rainbow Bridge, we're really in a completely different realm. It's this sort of higher realms. And again, there's a sense of you can explore all you like. You can come across the Crystal City. I did a reading for a friend, and she got this card, and she said the next morning she felt as though her soul had been sort of like recalibrated. So the Crystal City is probably the last calibration that we would meet or encounter. The city is for every being, every spirit. So we could go into one room and learn one thing about the way things are in the afterlife, and we could go into another room and find all sorts of other beings, But I honestly don't know. I just know it's a powerful place. After that, we might encounter one of the cherubim. This is not one of the little cherubim that the Victorians loved to paint. This is something that would probably stun you if it looked at you. Rather like the Sphinx, But beautiful, beautiful. And what I should have said is that there's lots and lots and lots of music going on. So where the cherubim is, the music has become quite, what's the word I want? It suffuses us. It goes right through us. And we're really near the end of our journey now. We're in the Elysian light realm. Here's a little, Elysian city, and we can move through there. And if we move through there, we will find ourselves in the absolute utmost center, which I believe is cosmic consciousness. You might believe it's God or Virgin Mary or whatever. It's up to you. But it's this absolute center of everything. And you can go in there and be part of it. So that is the Book of the Dead. Obviously, the book itself gives more details. And I will do another video to explain how you can use it as an oracle if you choose. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I will try and remember to put a link at the bottom. And as I say, the cards haven't arrived yet. They will arrive in the next few weeks and we'll start sending them out. Thank you for watching and good evening.